Okay, so first of all, before going to the software, just 2-3 slides on the philosophy behind Enginius and why we developed that online solution. If you read the business press, if you have an account on Amazon, you will see that business analytics is absolutely everywhere. When you know that something is going mainstream, when someone says that it's going to be the sexiest job of the 21st century, and you read something like analytics for dummies, it's a sure sign that something is being mainstream. So obviously, as instructors, you're probably being pushed, maybe happily pushed, to include more analytics in your curriculum. The issue is that, to be fair, not everybody will become a data scientist. It requires special statistical skills that not all business students would like to have. On the other hand, not everybody would like to be and will become an accountant, but every business student should have at least some knowledge of what accounting is all about. And so that's exactly to fill that gap that we've designed Enginius, and we had that in mind. So Enginius is Marketing Engineering Online. It's an online marketing analytics platform which aims at a few things. Number one, it's designed for business students, not statisticians. If you have heavily quantitative students in front of you, it's very likely you'll prefer R or SPSS or SAS or other more heavy-duty software solutions to deal with the problems. Enginius is designed to focus on the business problem. And so the reports are focused on the business insights too, because to be fair, the more you talk about the math behind segmentation, conjoint, and positioning, the less you focus on the actual business problem. And so Enginius has been designed to be simplified, as simple to use as possible. It's 100% online. You have nothing to install, but it's not dumbed down. It's still marketing analytics with heavy-duty pieces of software in the background, but we worked very hard to make it appear as simple as possible. So I'll start by doing a quick 5-minute introduction of what Enginius is all about. And basically in 5 minutes you'll have the flavor of everything there is into it. And then once that 5-minute introduction is done, we go over a few tips and tricks such as how to use Excel, how to manipulate data, how to generate different types of reports, and so on. So this segment will focus on a quick introduction of what Enginius is all about. I'm going to share my screen. And here I'm on the Enginius website. If you are a Decision Pro user, you'll need to register on Enginius directly. You can go to decisionpro.biz and you'll have actually a Test Enginius button which will give you access automatically without registering to the entire Enginius offering. But let's suppose you are a Lambda user. What you need to do is simply log in. I'm going to log in with my edu address. And once you are logged in, you can access the dashboard. The one step before accessing the dashboard is to select which license you have. You might have multiple licenses, you might have different courses running, you might have access to different modules. I'm just going to use my instructor complimentary license for this demo. And this is what Enginius looks like. So you have basically 3 major areas in the online interface. You have all the controls on the left, which gives you access to case studies, tutorials, template generation, and so on. And you have the actual models you have access to. Here we have 5. Then here in the middle, you have your data, which I fill out in a few seconds. And on the top right corner, a few straightforward controls to reset the page, save your data, and so on. We'll go over that in a few seconds. So what I'm going to do is to just show you how running one simple case study works. I'm going to open a well-known case study, Infinity G20. All the data appears in the center of the screen, and on the left you see a few quick links which basically give you access to case study, case solution, and a quick link to the actual software that you can run with that specific case study. Obviously, students will not have access to the case solution. If you'd like to launch a model, you run on Run Positioning Analysis, select the options you'd like. I'm going to keep pretty much all the default options. I'm going to just force a three-dimensional map to show you one of the features you have. And then you click Run. Before clicking Run, you have to decide what kind of report you'd like to have. And you can have a report in PowerPoint format, Excel, Word, PDF, even downloading the data in a zip file format. I'm just going to keep a web page to keep things simple, and then you let it go. Everything is happening on the application server in real time. It will just take a few seconds, and then the report will appear in the browser automatically. And this is what we have. So you have regular output for positioning studies, such as number of dimensions retained, variance explained. I'm not going into the details. I just want to show you what a report looks like. You have, for some reports, very interesting views, such as here in a positioning map, 3D view of the market, so you can see how brands are positioned compared to one another. And then additional maps, charts, tables, all kinds of things that I'm not going to cover, but pretty lengthy and detailed reports. And usually we try to add explanations everywhere so that your students, when they see the report, can understand how they need to read everything. I'm going to reset. And that's basically a quick overview of what Enginius is all about. Now, of course, we'd like to manipulate data within Enginius. We'd like to load data from Excel. We'd like to modify the data we're going to analyze. We'd like to enter our own data as well. And so that's what I'm going to show you next. So this segment is about manipulating data from within Enginius. Let's suppose you have a case study. Again, I'm going to open the Infinity G20 case study, and you'd like to modify the data or manipulate it in different ways. Actually, it's very easy to create your own data. You just click on New Block, and then you type in the data you have in whatever format is required for the analysis. You can delete a data block, which you have no use for. You can, when you have multiple data blocks and it might become hard to read, you can minimize them or maximize them again, and you can also modify the order in which these data blocks appear on the screen. For those familiar with the G20 case study, there is one data manipulation that we often do. In the G20 case study, we realize that US brands are actually not highly relevant to the business problem we have. So what I'm going to do is to remove the US brands while keeping the original data set for later use. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to duplicate the data block, and I'm going to remove all the US brands from the data they're not relevant to, they're not highly relevant to our problem. And then I'm going to rename that. It will be easier later on without US brand. It's done. And so as you can see, we have now 3 data blocks. And when you run positioning analysis, all you have to do is to select the relevant data block you'd like to analyze, and that's it. So it's going to recreate a new positioning map. With only the data we care about. Now, once you manipulate data, you might need to access it later on. Okay, so one thing you can do is to save whatever data you have here and store it on the cloud, on your cloud account on Enginius website. As you see, I've done it already. Very new data. Save it. And wherever you connect from, you'll have access to the data again in the future. You just need to load from your account, select the data of interest to you, and here it is. And the data is accessible from wherever you connect from and whatever device you use. So it's very convenient. You can work on one computer and then run a demo on iPad with exactly the same interface. There is one thing I'd like to cover in addition to that before we move to actually dealing with Excel input, output, and sharing. It's generating reports, because that's a kind of hidden feature in Enginius that is very useful. So, in Enginius, you can generate reports in many different formats. And depending on your needs, one format might be more suited than another. Let me show you how it works. So for this demonstration, I'm going to select connector PDA segmentation case study, which is, as its name implies, a segmentation case study. And I'm going to run a segmentation analysis, but let's suppose that what I care about is actually to which segment each respondent belongs to. If the output is in a web page, that's not very useful. I'd like to download the data in Excel format. So what you do for that purpose is you go here and you say, I'd like to have the output in Excel format, and you launch the analysis. The analysis will work as expected, except that at the end, once you ask to show the report, you'll actually be invited to download an Excel spreadsheet which has been filled with all the data you need. So here you have everything we need from model predictions. You have the charts you can use, segment space, and here the segment membership, which I care about in Excel format. Now let's suppose that I'd like to have exactly the same report, but in a different format. I do not need to relaunch the analysis again. All I need to do is to go to Report History, which lists all the reports you've analyzed and run recently, which you can rename, delete, and so on. I'm going to select the latest segmentation report I run, and this time I'm going to create a PowerPoint presentation from it. I click Run. The analysis doesn't need to run again, and I get the entire report in PowerPoint format, which can be very useful in some situations. So same analysis, many different kinds of report from the same analysis. Now, of course, we are all used to using Excel for data analysis, and so Enginius is no exception. In this segment, I'm going to show you how to work with Excel from the simplest way to more complex ones. Working with Excel on Enginius is actually quite easy to do. The simplest thing to do, actually, the simplest way to deal with Excel and transfer data from Excel to Enginius can be as simple as copy-paste. So what you can do, here I have a perceptual data case study I'd like to run in Enginius. You can select the data you are interested in. On a computer, on a PC, you do Control-C for copy. Go back to Enginius, click on the upper left cell, and Control-V. And now you have your data that you can analyze from within Excel. And you can do the exact opposite, copying from Enginius and going to Excel. Obviously, when you have a more complex data set or when you have multiple data blocks you need to analyze, that's not very convenient. It's very easy and quick, but for larger data sets, it's not perfect. So what you can do is actually load an Excel spreadsheet directly into Enginius. You click on Load, upload an Excel spreadsheet, select the one you'd like to run. I'm going to select Coca-Cola Life, which is a case study we are currently working on. Open. And then Enginius will try to decipher your Excel spreadsheet and automatically divide the data into data blocks, identify what are the names, whether you have comments, whether they need to be split, and then you can, from the data, run a positioning study very easily. I'm going to do it now, so at least you see what we are currently working on. That's a positioning study about the failure of Coca-Cola Life compared to all the other brands of the Coca-Cola company. And when you look at, let's go to 3D, when you look at the positioning of the Coca-Cola Life brand, you realize that it's perceived to be a bad Coca-Cola Light, which explains its issues in the market. Once you can load data into from an Excel spreadsheet. You can also save the data you have into an Excel spreadsheet. So to do that, you simply go to Save, Save as Excel spreadsheet, and a file will be sent to you over the web, which contains all the data you have in the dashboard you've been using on Enginius. So going back and forth between Excel and Enginius is very easy. You can either copy paste or actually load and save Excel spreadsheet very easily. There are two things I'd like to share with you, especially for those users who have been used to Excel. When we developed Enginius, we added a few features, and basically we started the development of every piece of software from scratch. And starting from scratch, we decided what needs to remain, what needs to be added, and how can we simplify our teaching. Here, I'm going to demonstrate one very nice feature of conjoint analysis that we've added in Enginius that will probably make your life easier when you teach conjoint. In conjoint analysis, when you try to explain to your students that companies have often to make a choice between high market shares and high profits, and they might have neither, it's sometimes hard to demonstrate in the classroom. I'm going to show you one case study where conjoint analysis in Enginius makes it very clear. So I'm opening the door case study, which is a very interesting business-to-business case study where a German company tries to enter the US market, and the US market has been analyzed using a conjoint study with multiple competitors. The preferences of B2B customers have been quantified through preference part worth, and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is to ask Enginius to run a conjoint analysis with the data. As you can see, in conjoint you have many options because simulations can be quite complex. And I'm going to ask Enginius to test with any product possible. So what the software is going to do is to try to estimate the market share and potential profit of each and every potential product that the door company could introduce in the US market. And for each product, it will estimate both market shares and profit. So it will take a few seconds to run. And once we have that, you can actually show, I'm going to skip a bit of a report, you can actually show to your students what is called the Pareto frontier. So each dot you see here is a potential product that the door company could introduce in the market. Each and every dot is a product. In that case study, we have 256 potential combinations. For each of these combinations, we estimate, number one, the market share that it can hope for, and how much profit per customer unit you can hope for. And the dots you see in red are the products that give a Pareto optimal combination of market share and profit, knowing that option number one here, which is described below, gives you the lowest market shares but actually the highest weighted revenue, while the product here gives you 100% market share but you lose money because you are on the left of the profit line, which is the green dashed line you see here. And all these products are then simulated in the market with conjoint analysis. So that's a very nice feature that has eluded most instructors when they teach conjoint analysis. It's hard to show that there is such a trade-off between market shares and profit, and we hope that that Pareto frontier, which is new, will help you teach that more effectively. There is also something else we have introduced in Enginius, which is called predictive modeling. That's basically regression, all kinds of regression analysis. So I'd like to show you how it works on a very interesting case study that we are working on, which is a fundraising case study. So predictive modeling is widely used today. It's scoring, it's trying to predict what people will do, when they will click, what they will buy, when they will churn, and so on. Predictive modeling is part of the Enginius package. And to demonstrate, I'm going to load the data from a fundraising context. So in that fundraising context, what we have is a bunch of customers for whom we have observed their loyalty over the last 12 months. And 12 months ago, we measured their seniority, recency, frequency, and average donation amount. So that person here was acquired 22 years ago, made her last donation 12.6 years ago, very cold donor. Between the period made 6 donations with an average donation amount of $43. So we're going to predict the links between loyalty as a target variable and all these independent variables, and then try to apply that model to a new data set which has the same variables but contain different customers. Now it's a very complex model because when you think about loyalty, it has 2 components. One, whether or not you're going to make a donation, and 2, if you make a donation, how much are you going to give? And that's called the discrete continuous model, which now is implemented in Enginius. What you do is, in predictive modeling, you select the kind of target variable you have. So you can have a binary variable, will buy, not buy, a choice between multiple alternatives, such as which brand the customer is going to choose. Continuous, that's regular regression. And then discrete continuous, which is yes, no, and for the yeses, how much? I'm going to use the in sample. The loyalty is actually my target variable, and I'm going to transform both input and output to improve the predictive ability of my model. I'm even going to use a tenfold cross-validation, and once everything is done, I'm going to apply my results to my out-of-sample data. So predictive modeling is working, tenfold cross-validation, and once everything works, we see the results. So the model works in 2 steps. First, we describe the data that has been used, both in sample, out of sample, and how we normalize the data with Box-Cox transformation and so on. And then we run 2 models. The first one is the discrete model, who is going to make a donation and who is not, with plenty of diagnostic tool, model predictions, confusion matrix, and of course the Gantt chart and lift. Actually, the model is quite good. It has a lift of 4.71, which is quite efficient. And then for those who actually made a donation, we move to the continuous model results, where we try to predict the actual donation amount everybody has made. And here the model seems to work pretty well. Once you have that, you combine these 2 models into one and get the Gantt chart of the entire model. As you can see, the dashed line is the multifold cross-validation process, and it usually tends to be a bit less optimistic than the in-sample fit. And once it's done, actually that model is then applied to compute elasticities, the changes of predictors on the out-of-sample, and then for the out-of-sample predictions, everything we need to know about our sample, and of course the predicted lift is pretty good as well. So I hope that this short demo has tempted you to try Enginius. But before you try it for yourself, just a few words about what's coming next. So basically, Enginius will be available to students starting early July. So as July 1st, or July 15, you can count on Enginius to be fully available to students for class and teaching. Right now, if you have a marketing engineering for Excel license, you have an Enginius license, and so will your students. So just one license will give you access to everything, and you don't have to make a choice at this stage. Many different things will happen within the next few weeks and months. We have a few business cases we are working on. One actually will be presented next week. That's the ISBM case study with both segmentation, targeting, and positioning components. A very interesting B2B case study. And then we are going to introduce existing models in the MEXL package, such as resource allocation, the G matrix. They will be introduced on September 1st at the latest, but actually they will surely be introduced much earlier than that. And then customer lifetime value and the Bayes diffusion model, which will be introduced in Enginius by December at the latest, but again, probably much earlier than that again. We also are working on new models, sentiment analysis, social network analysis, keyword optimization, panel data. Based on customer feedback, we have prioritized moving existing models from MEXL into Enginius, but many of those models are currently under development already. And for those who cannot work without an Excel add-in, it's coming too. So obviously it's very easy to run case studies and analyze everything using the web interface, but if you'd like Excel to communicate directly with Enginius and run analysis from within Excel, that's something we're currently working on. It's very hard to give you a deadline to that, but it's one of our top priorities, and so we hope to get back to you very quickly with a solution. Knowing that, yes, before you ask the question, we are also working on a Mac Excel add-in. The only issue is that the Mac Excel add-in, because of Microsoft limitations, will only be working with the very latest version of Excel on Mac, which is 2017, if I'm correct. And that one will be able to run that kind of platform. The older versions, all your students using Mac will have to resolve to use the web interface, at least for now. Okay. So we are, I don't think Mike Clitheroe is able to speak. That was one of our technical difficulties. Mike, are you online?
Mike is not, but I am, Arno. So.
Okay, Steve. Hi. I suggest we open the mic to everybody who'd like to ask a question. So please, if you could mute your phone right now, that would be perfect, because we're going to open the mic, which means that if you have a dog barking, pretty much the entire rest of the world will hear it. So mute now, and in a couple of seconds we're going to unmute everyone, and we'll be able to take question and answers. Well, hopefully questions that we will answer for the default. So number one, mute your phone. We're going to stop the recording, and then the floor will be yours.
Thank you. Please stand by.